In this video, we're going to define what charisma means and how to be more charismatic when it matters most. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Tape, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Wait for it. Ding! She's here.
I'm here.
Oh, I love doing this. Yeah.
Aw,
I love doing videos with my wife.
I like it too.
And so we do want to talk about charisma.
Sure.
It's something that is near and dear to us because we now run the Sam Christensen Image Process. And that is sort of, in a nutshell, what we're interested in and what we help cultivate in anybody who takes the workshop. We talk about those buzzwords, authenticity and charisma, and they sound so yummy. And if you're an actor, you've heard casting directors talk all the time about when they're asked, what are you looking for in an actor in a self-tape? They don't always say charismatic or authentic, but usually they're dancing around that. And sometimes they will say, we're just looking for an authentic read. But oftentimes, if you listen to the words they use, you could reinterpret it as, oh, they just want something authentic. They want, sort of paradoxically, for me to just be myself. And somehow, apparently, I'm going to stand out by just being myself. And while that actually is the punchline here, that you will stand out by being yourself, even if you sort of intuitively know that, we have to constantly be reminded of it because it's so tempting as an actor to try to stand out. Mm-hmm. But you know, in an effort to stand out, what would you say, Brooke, are some of the pitfalls or what could happen in an effort to stand out if we don't know ourselves?
Sure. Well, the first thing that comes to mind, especially when going back to when I was doing theater as a young lass, and even when I went to the University of Florida, which I love.
You're a gator? You're a gator?
I know, I'm a gator. To receive a BFA in theater, there was this feeling of like, I can be anything. And as an actor, it's like, ooh, I get to escape being Brooke and I get to go be someone else. And I think that's the allure of acting, is that you can leave yourself behind and then you get to step into this character and be whoever. But I don't know how to be some things. And if I were to have a role in front of me that I could do, or, you know, they're like, hey, why don't you audition for this? And I try to do the thing that I just am not qualified to do, it's going to look schmacky. Mm-hmm. It's going to look really fake. It's going to look put on. And, you know, for theater, maybe that's what it is. It might be slapsticky and put on-y. But for the most part, with television and film, everything these days needs to be real, natural, and grounded. And so you can't put yourself behind. You have to be present in everything, because how can you be grounded if you're not with yourself?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I always chuckle when an actor is talking about their process and how they admit to, you know, well, I bring a little bit of myself to every role. And it's like, well, I hope you bring 100% of yourself to every role. I get what they're saying, which is, if I'm playing a despicable character of some sort, you know, I'm hoping that I don't come across despicable in real life. So in that way, I might convince myself that I am putting on this character. But the only way that character is going to be charismatic or authentic is if actually it's more a revealing of some part of my humanity that just happens to be in conjunction with these words that this writer wrote and this circumstance that has been created. And sometimes I think there's a pushback of this idea that what I think you're saying, Brooke, is that we are not infinitely versatile as actors. Right. We're not meant to be infinitely versatile. And some actors are like, well, you're trying to put me in a box. And it's like, one of my favorite examples is, imagine recasting The Notebook, and instead of having Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, we put Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. Right? It suddenly becomes laughable that this deep romance is now, wait, Cillian Murphy, especially like 1990s, early 2000s Cillian Murphy. And it turns out they made that movie. It was called Red Eye, where he starts out, he's on a plane, and it looks like he's trying to charm Rachel McAdams, but like, you know, Even if you didn't watch the trailer, you know that something's up because he is not meant to play that traditional romantic lead in a movie like The Notebook.
Right.
It's just not part of the humanity that he brings to the world. He's not being called to show that to the audience. He's called to usually show this darker side of humanity, because even in Oppenheimer, he's not a villain per se, or maybe he is. It depends on your point of view, but certainly we're seeing this darker side of him and of his own humanity as he's dealing with potentially destroying the world by creating the atomic bomb. So, actors, especially getting into TV and film, want to be this infinitely versatile. They want their agent to submit them for everything. Mm-hmm. And when in fact, that's not what our job is. And if we don't identify our bestseller, the thing that we are going to knock out of the park every single time, well, then we're going to be just like a pinball bouncing around and never settling on anything.
Well, we're going to be desperate to want to know what casting is wanting.
Yeah.
And I think that therein lies the rub of you can't know what casting wants from you if you don't know what casting wants from you.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about this process is you go through it and then you finally know what casting wants from you.
Yeah. That we have a lot of metaphors we use in the process. But one of them that I like to talk about is if you've ever had the paralysis of trying to decide on. There's a classic psychological sort of example of going to the grocery store to buy grape jelly, and all of a sudden you're presented with 27 different varieties of it. And there's jam, there's jelly, there's preserves, all these variations, and you're just like, this is too much. Mm-hmm. And that is the equivalent of an actor trying to be all things in all circumstances to all casting directors. You want to be, all these things. And so as a result, you have 27 headshots on Actors Access, all with this, what you think are these different nuances of yourself. If I take away the stethoscope from that shot and I take away the police badge from that shot, and if I just isolate the face, I don't have 27 different varieties of you. I probably have 3, 4, maybe varieties of you in terms of what you're actually selling me. And if we don't embrace that, the fact that we are being called essentially to play very specific parts of humanity. Notice I don't say roles. You can play infinite roles, but as you sort of step into each of those characters, there's going to be something unique, we call your signature performance, that you're bringing to each of those roles. And until you go through a process like this and do this deep work, you won't know with certainty. You'll be grasping at it and you'll have ideas, but there's something so peaceful about knowing with certainty because you have done the research to figure that out. Sure. And so maybe speak to what I mean by research when it comes to the 4-day process.
Sure. Researching how you've been, the feedback you've received from your past, even if you have a high school yearbook lying around, if it doesn't say love you like a sis, Lilas, or, AIT hack, there's going to be descriptive words that people wrote about you to describe you and what their experience of you was at that time. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be your understanding of who you are, because that has to be at the crux of it all. If you don't bring yourself, then it's pointless, because we need to know what you believe you to be. Mm-hmm. And then your classmates who represent the world will also give you feedback, anonymous feedback. You will never know who said what said who, to be able to gather data, because all of this is data. It's not criticism. It's not advice. It's not judgment, and it's truly not compliments in the way of like everything is rosy and glorious. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very neutral data that you are going to sit with. We're going to walk you through it so that you can come out the other side understanding how you are perceived, and where there might have been a gap, we should have closed that by the end of the 4 days. And if there is any overlap, then what a relief to know that you don't have to do anything. If people already perceive that about you, then you don't have to do anything. Just show up.
Yeah. And so that's sort of the last piece of at least what this video is the fact that when you walk out the other side of the workshop, we give you tools, very specific tools that have practical applications in your work, but also in your life on how to show up more, how to be more charismatic or more authentic. Again, using those buzzwords because everyone likes to use them, to make sure that you know how to do that and how to recognize, because it's not foolproof. You still have to be conscious of it, but how to recognize when you didn't show up, and how to maybe modify that while it's still happening, while it's in the moment, how to prep for the next one in a way that will guarantee a better result based on the tools we give you. And it's really fascinating. And we see so many graduates of the process just have light bulb after light bulb go off of either realizing, connecting the dots of those breadcrumbs that Brooke mentioned, those all the way back to those yearbook posts or the things that were written in your baby book. And seeing that, wow, there has been this story that is being told my whole life. And while I thought I matured past some of this, there's still a lot of connective tissue that is a linear progression, and it's not this thing where I left that version of me behind and now I'm this brand new person. It's like, oh, I still am so much of the person I was 7 years ago, 20 years ago. And so we give you the tools to recognize that, to see those light bulbs turn on, and to, like I said, sort of increase that chance that you will be authentic or charismatic in the moment. And yeah, and so really the only other thing is, if this is intriguing to you, if this quick little talk that we're having is intriguing, we invite you to check out one of our free previews of the Sam Christensen process, which we do periodically. If you're watching this on the day we release the video, we actually have one tonight over Zoom that you can register for, and there's a link in the show notes below. Otherwise, if you're catching this after that, we'll be doing another one in person at Get Taped here in Atlanta in November of 2025. But then we're always doing them periodically over Zoom in person. And so you can come learn more about the process and ask questions of us right then and there, and see if this is something that is intriguing to you, and if this idea of being charismatic and being more authentic in your work and in your life, if that is something that is sort of awakening a curiosity in you, then we invite you to come check it out. Anything that you want to add to that before we wrap things up?
All I can say is that the ability to know thyself in a deeper way, to understand how the world perceives you, is, you would think, some people think, oh, it's really scary, I don't want to know what people think about me. But you will be so surprised at how much people love you. Like there's a human understanding that goes deep when you do this process, to where you can say, I can just rest. And that's where charisma comes from, is just being completely, unabashedly, physically aware of who you are.
Yeah. Because here's the bottom line, is if you're being told through this process, through the evidence that you get, that people already perceive this about you, then there's really no option other than to embrace it.
Yep.
To embrace this thing that is universal, that everyone is telling you, no, that's you. And if it's a part of you that you didn't know was so obvious, well, then there's an invitation to embrace it. And when you do, peace abounds.
Yes.
And then that's when you start noticing it in future auditions or in-person experiences, is that people start to see something different. They start to notice that peace that you have about who you are. And then usually that manifests as words like authentic and charismatic. So come to the preview or check out the show notes below to learn more. And hopefully we'll see you at one of those events, if not at the workshop itself. And Brooke, do you want to close us?
And we'll see you on set.
Oh, she stole my line.